Hey guys.
Hello.
Welcome back to Spooky Sleuths. We have a serial killer episode for you today.
We do. We're going to talk about the toy box killer. I'm Sammi.
And I'm Nicole. And we are Spooky Sleuths. Oh, that sounds so bright and happy.
Yeah, I'm glad you think that.
I'm sure it's not though. I mean, killer's the second part
I
of it.
can't wait till I tell you what the toy box has in it, and then you'll feel really bad about saying that.
Man.
So viewer discretion and listener discretion is advised. We're going to be talking about some horrific details involving SA, murder, a little bit of bestiality. So definitely prepare yourself if that's not something you want to hear.
If this is one you need, I was like, if this is one you need to skip, that's okay. You will not hurt our feelings.
It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I can't believe that I hadn't heard about this guy until a couple years ago.
I've never heard of him.
Oh, you just wait. So we're going to talk about David Parker Ray.
All right, let's get into it.
He was born on November 6th, 1939 in Belen, New Mexico to Cecil and Nettie Ray. David grew up in a poor family, so the family lived with his mother's family on a small ranch. He had a sister, Peggy, and his father struggled with alcoholism. David's father was not the best influence on him. Cecil would get drunk and fight and lash out at Nettie. But not only did he treat his wife badly, he introduced David to pornography at a very young age.
Why? What would possess you to do that? What makes you think that's okay?
Not regular pornography.
Oh, no.
But sadomasochistic pornography.
That's gonna warp your view of sex for your whole life.
Absolutely. You have a developing brain.
I mean, what you do on your own time as an adult is your business.
But not when you're a child.
And you don't teach your child that.
Right. Children, I don't believe that children should be kept in the dark about it because that makes them, I feel like that makes them more vulnerable.
No, but you
up to a certain age and detail level. I don't want you to show your 1-year-old pornography.
No.
But, I mean, whenever they are old enough and when they're teenagers, you have to educate them.
Education is one thing, but that sounds like grooming.
Yeah, like you're giving him a magazine with sadomasochism in it.
Which will warp your view of relationships, sexual encounters, all of it.
It's awful. Cecil would also beat him regularly. Combine all of this with his father and the fact that David was bullied by his peers in school because he was shy and socially awkward. It is no wonder why David developed a secret obsession with sadomasochism and became reclusive. In his teenage years, he began abusing alcohol and drugs too.
That runs in families a lot, unfortunately.
David graduated high school and enlisted in the Army. He was honorably discharged, but not before learning how to be a mechanic. After he was discharged from the Army, he became a maintenance man and mechanic for the New Mexico Parks Department. David had been married and divorced 4 times. I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah.
He's clearly unable to maintain a relationship.
Clearly. There's just some point where you have to think, is this a me problem or a
Right.
you problem?
It's not really clear when David became an SAer and a killer, but authorities do believe that his criminal career began in the 1950s.
Okay.
He was born in 1939, but he wasn't even in his 20s at this point whenever he started.
Or just turned 20.
Yeah. So let's fast forward a little bit to his final victim because she's the one who finally stopped him and she's the only one that we really know a lot about.
Okay.
And that'll become more clear why she's the only one we know about as we go forward. Her name is Cynthia Vigil. So on March 19th, 1999, Cynthia was a sex worker working in a parking lot in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She went up to a man who claimed he was an undercover police officer who told her she was under arrest for prostitution. The man was not an undercover police officer, but he was David Parker Ray. He took Cynthia to his home and placed her in his toy box. You may be wondering, what is his toy box?
I need to know.
The toy box was a soundproof trailer. In the trailer...
Like a trailer home, or like a truck trailer with like...
Yeah, like... It looks like something that you would put maybe cattle on, but there's no windows. Like, it's a solid soundproof
like
trailer.
A food truck trailer, like something like to that effect.
But it's not like the ones that we see on semis today. We'll put a picture of it here. In the trailer was a gynecological chair with a mirror mounted above it on the ceiling.
Why?
There were whips, chains, straps, clamps, leg spreader bars, surgical blades, saws, and so many sex toys. Which,
again, is all fine.
You want your red room, go get your red room.
With consent? Consent is the big thing.
And even that community, the BDSM community, is all about consent.
It's built on consent. The minute you withdraw your consent, game over.
Yes. They are very clear about that. So this is not what that is. And please do not think that we are talking about BDSM here, because we're not.
This is not the same thing.
Lining the walls of the toy box were diagrams with different ways to inflict pain. He
needed a to-do list?
He needed instructions. There was also a wooden contraption that was used to immobilize the victims. So him and his friends, because he did have his friends involved with the women, so that they would have an easier time essaying the woman. In addition to all of that, a TV and a videotape was left in there when the police finally found it. This videotape showed David and his then girlfriend essaying and torturing a woman. That's not the only videotape that David had, though. When he would bring a new victim to his toy box, David would play them a video and force them to watch and listen as he explained in detail exactly what he was going to do to them.
So they're sitting there, already terrified.
And a lot of them are probably blindfolded too, so they can't watch it. They have no idea where they are. They're strapped down.
Drugged?
He does do that occasionally.
But not like the norm that we're aware of.
The victims that we will talk about have all been drugged.
Okay.
But we don't know about a lot of his victims to know whether he did that to everyone. He liked to play with drugs, though. I'm only going to read you a small portion of this videotape, but you can read the full transcript online at your own risk, because it is very disturbing.
It's that bad?
It's bad.
I mean, we talked about anthill kids, and it's that bad?
It's that bad. I think you can even listen to the actual audio of it.
That sounds awful.
In his voice. Yeah. I read it. I didn't listen to it. All right. So the videotape is David saying the following. "Hello there, B-word." He said the actual B-word.
Nah. It's not funny. Don't make me laugh.
"Are you comfortable right now? I doubt it. Wrists and ankles chained, gagged, probably blindfolded. You are disoriented and scared too, I would imagine. Perfectly normal under the circumstances. For a little while at least, you need to get your S-word together and listen to this tape. It is very relevant to your situation. I'm going to tell you in detail why you have been kidnapped, what's going to happen to you, and how long you'll be here. I don't know the details of your capture because this tape is being created July 20th.
Sammi is a ladybug.
They're really bad today.
They are. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You were really into it, but that just threw me completely off. Okay.
Because this tape is being created July 23rd, 1993, as a general advisory tape for future female captives. He went on to say, now you're obviously here against your will, totally helpless, don't know where you're at, don't know what's going to happen to you. You're very scared or very pissed off. I'm sure that you've already tried to get your wrists and ankles loose and know you can't. Now you're just waiting to see what's going to happen next. You probably think you're going to be essayed, and you're effing sure right about that. Our primary interest is in what you've got between your legs. You'll be essayed thoroughly and repeatedly in every hole you've got. Because basically, you've been snatched and brought here for us to train and use as a sex slave. Further on in the tape, David talks about he and his then girlfriend have been keeping sex slaves for years. He also compared women to animals and stated that he was into animal play. Or bestiality. Later, it would be revealed that he forced some women to have intercourse with the dog.
This is bad.
I told you.
Like, this is bad. I low-key want to listen to the audio.
It's disturbing, but I had to, so you should have to. Well, I didn't listen, I read. David really wanted to brainwash these women to be his sex slaves. Sex slaves that he would keep for up to 3 months. Sometimes multiple women at a time.
In the toy box?
Yes.
3 months in that toy box.
Yes.
And
I think he would take them over to his house, his trailer that he lived in, his mobile home. And they would sleep on a dirty mattress, chained up. That's how they lived.
Whenever you were initially reading all that, I was expecting it to be like a few days of capture before like death.
Nope. And I say up to 3 months because not all of them were kept for that long. Some were only kept for a couple of days. Some were kept for 1 month. Some he murdered. It's really hard to pinpoint this case. He's never admitted to anything. And really all they have to go off is trophies that he kept. One interesting thing that I found that David said was that it would be an embarrassing to him if a woman escaped. As if he was too good to have anyone escape on him. It would damage his ego.
No.
But that's all of the video I want to discuss because it is disturbing. If I were one of these women listening to this video, I would be terrified. Which I'm sure is exactly what David wanted.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's just one of his forms of torture.
It's like mess with their mind before you even get into anything else.
But let's go back to Cynthia's story. When David returned to his home with Cynthia, he chained her to the gynecological chair in the trailer. David kept Cynthia there for 3 days where he continuously essayed her and tortured her. He was not alone in doing this though. His girlfriend, Cindy Hindi, was assisting him. Yes, her name is Cindy Hindi.
That sounds fake.
They would torture Cynthia with whips, sex toys, medical equipment, and even electrical shocks. On Cynthia's 3rd day of entrapment, David went to work as he normally would, but Cindy mistakenly left the keys to Cynthia's restraints on a table near her. Cynthia was able to get the keys and free herself. Not without Cindy hitting her on the head with the lamp, trying to get her back in, trying to keep her there. Cynthia was able to retaliate and she stabbed Cindy with an ice pick. Go Cynthia.
I thought you were going to say
I know.
Cindy.
It's confusing. Cynthia, Cindy.
Yeah.
Go Cynthia. She ran out of the trailer, butt naked, with a slave collar and padlock chains. She ran through the town of Elephant Butte. I think it's Butte. Elephant Butte.
Butte.
Yeah.
Butte. Like.
Well, she ran through the town of Elephant Butte where David lived, and he knocked on the door. I said David lived weird and it messed me up. Where David lived, and knocked on the door of a nearby trailer. The owner was able to get her covered up and call 911. When the police arrived, they arrested Cindy, and when he returned home...
So Cindy was still alive?
Yeah, the ice pick didn't kill her.
Maimed her, though.
Yeah. Cindy was arrested. David was as well when he got home. Cindy Cindy and David both claimed they kidnapped Cynthia because she was addicted to heroin and they were trying to help her beat her addiction.
We worked at addiction. Like that's not how you go about that.
No, not at all. Cindy and David were charged with 12 criminal charges.
Only 12?
Only 12. Not many of his victims are known, but it is believed that David committed between 60 and 100 murders. There are only a few known besides Cynthia. After Cynthia's story became public, another victim named Angelica Montano came forward. Angelica had difficulty remembering exactly what happened to her, as she had been drugged with sodium pentothal and phenobarbital. David drugged some of the women for this exact reason. If they escaped, they didn't remember what happened to them. Because sodium pentothal is a rapid onset general anesthetic, and phenobarbital is a sedative. A sedative. This also made the women more compliant since they were sedated.
Yeah.
Angelica went to David's house to borrow some cake mix, but she was drugged and captured by the couple.
So she just came across
Hey neighbor. So if I ever come asking you for cake mix, please do not drug and murder me.
No promises.
After they kept her for an undefined period of time, she was found on the side of the highway in the desert by the police. But the police never followed up with her case. So we don't even know how long she was gone because she was drugged. She has no idea when she went.
No memory.
No memory of what happened. And the police didn't pursue it. And I mean, I don't know the year that this happened, but I would think that they could at least swab her or something to try to get some evidence off of her. But I don't know what the technology was like back then.
Right.
Another victim was named when Cindy Hendy began to confess. She told the authorities everything she knew, including other people that helped David in his crimes. The victim that she named was named Marie Parker. She was murdered by one of David's accomplices, Dennis Roy Yancey. David also had a daughter who helped him torture, and murder women.
So his father groomed him, and now he's grooming his daughter.
Yep. Her name was Glenda Jessie Ray. When David and Jessie kidnapped Marie Parker in 1997, they tortured her together. Days later, his other accomplice, Dennis, murdered Marie. It's also suspected that David killed Dennis, but there's not a lot of evidence to go off for that. It's just a suspected thing.
Up for speculation.
Yes. The final known victim is another survivor, Kelly Garrett. Kelly was friends with David's daughter, Jessie. Kelly is the woman in the torture videotape that the police found in the toy box. On July 24th, 1996, Kelly got into a fight with her husband. She decided to go to a local bar to drink and play pool with Jessie because they were friends.
Okay.
While at the bar, Jessie roofied her beer.
Her friend.
David and Jessie took Kelly to the toy box. They placed a dog collar with a leash on her to get her in there.
How demeaning. Like, all of this is awful, but that is demeaning if it's not consensual.
Right.
I'm worried to offend somebody.
But if it's not consent, then it's not okay.
And it's not part of that community either.
No.
Okay.
Kelly survived, but no one believed her story, not even her husband. He divorced her because he thought she was out cheating on him the 2 days she was being held by David. She didn't have much of a recollection because she was drugged.
Yeah.
But she did know that she was SA'd by David. She was able to remember that much. But no one believed her. So let's talk about his trial. The judge on the case originally postponed his trial to try him for a 1996 murder in Colorado, but they really didn't have a lot of evidence for that. Unfortunately, shortly before David's trial for this murder, Angelica died of an overdose. So they lost a witness. And it really makes me wonder if this kind of brought up those feelings that from when all of this happened to her. So Angelica was not able to testify. After his Colorado trial, he began the trial for 12 counts of kidnapping, SA, and conspiracy. Only 2 months later, the judge declared a mistrial. The jury could not decide on a verdict.
Wait, a mistrial?
A mistrial.
No. How could you not decide on a verdict?
They didn't believe that the victims were held against their will. So when his new trial began, the judge that was on the case passed away. So the proceedings did not resume for another 6 months. During this trial, he was found guilty on all 12 charges. He was never convicted of murder. None of those charges were murder charges. But David was sentenced to 224 years in prison for his crimes.
Well, thank goodness. I mean, my gosh.
His daughter, Jessie Ray, was sentenced to 9 years, and Cindy Hindy was sentenced to 36 years in prison. Jessie and Cindy are both free and walk the streets today.
They're just as guilty.
Yes, absolutely.
And as a woman, I cannot imagine partaking in that no matter what. No matter how much I love the man, no matter the familial ties, absolutely not.
Nope, I couldn't do it. I mentioned that David was never convicted of murder.
Which baffles my brain. Okay.
The police had found diaries that he written.
That he written?
That
Your
he had written.
coming out.
The police found diaries that David had wrote detailing horrible murders that he committed. He also had jewelry.
That's a confession.
It is.
That's a confession.
Right there.
Jewelry, trophies. How do you not have a
He had clothing, other personal items from victims. They did take these into evidence. The police were not able to find any human remains in any of the places where he supposedly dumped the bodies or on the property, because he had access to all of this land with his job. Yeah. So who knows where these bodies are?
Guy.
And he knew those woods like the back of his hand, I guarantee it. This is just one of those cases I cannot believe that people don't know about. His crime spree spanned many years. Even though we don't know the exact amount, it was at least 40 years of him essaying, torturing, and murdering women.
And sometimes he kept them for short amounts of time, sometimes longer, sometimes multiple at once.
Right.
It's hard to tell really how many women were in that toy box.
And he had his friends help him.
Like I gotta go to work, buddy. Tag you in. What?
Or at the same time, he would have parties with them. But what was the demographic of women? That's the only reason I think he got away with it for so long, because he was choosing sex workers to go after.
Generally. Obviously, Jessie was also bringing in friends.
Right. But generally, he chose sex workers. He was able to become an expert and proceed undetected. So let us know what y'all think. Have you heard of the Toy Box Killer before? If you made it this far, make sure to drop a snowflake emoji into the comments. In honor of Cynthia, giving Cindy some of what she deserves with that ice pick.
This story was a little rough.
I could have went worse, but I didn't want us to, not be able to post on YouTube.
Right. So tell us what you think, guys. Have you heard of him before? I know we kind of just went over that, but I'm just like spinning my wheels here, just kind of reeling. That's a lot of info.
Yeah. Make sure you check us out on Instagram and TikTok. If you're not watching on YouTube, get over to YouTube and watch us. All of our socials are at Spooky Sleuths Pod.
Make sure you comment down below. Leave us a snowflake if you're able to. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We post videos every week, and I think we're getting ready to maybe increase our episodes per week.
Make sure you smash that like button.
And on that note,
stay spooky, friends.